Hello everyone, my name is John Vigna. I'm an assistant professor of teaching at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, BC, and pedagogy chair in the creative writing program. I'm a fiction writer and teach fiction to undergrads in our minor, BFA major, and MFA program. I would like to acknowledge the physical space from where I'm calling from today. I live, work, and write from the fishing village of Steveston, BC, just south of Vancouver, where my university is located. Steveston is situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Coast Salish, Tsawwassen, Stalo, Kwantlen, Chemainus, and Musqueam people. I am grateful for the privilege of living here, and I'm grateful to all of you for taking the time out of your day to attend this talk. Coaching student writers to evaluate their own work is an important skill that taps into their ability to think as young artists. It doesn't take long for young writers to realize there are gaps in their writing skills. Through guided peer assessment, close reading of texts, and craft discussions, they start looking at their writing differently and go beyond the myopia that can plague early drafts and assess their work from a different perspective. If they move from what another student's work looks like or can look like, then they can start to feel more comfortable assessing their own work. The workshop is the signature pedagogy and creative writing workshops and classes where student work is the primary text of study. Peer assessment, marginalia, and the discussion of student work are central tenets. Collegial but rigorous feedback is important to the growth of a writing practice. Providing written feedback, however, can be labor-intensive. The practice also raises questions of value since feedback is often provided to the writer after they've submitted a piece of creative work for a workshop. Students also express a sense of frustration and discouragement in receiving comments. Now, while some students may not trust peer feedback, others may falsely believe there's little value in it. A question that many of us have heard is, why should I spend valuable writing time commenting on student work when they aren't doing the same for me? It's a fair enough question. But if we offer student writers clear expectations tied to the pedagogy of the course, then the question, why are we doing this, can be one that guides and improves the process of peer assessment and learning to write well. There are a few reasons we might benefit from marginalia. It helps our students become stronger readers, stronger writers, stronger advocates of their own work, and it helps foster collegiality, collaboration, and trust. Helps our students become stronger workshop citizens. Now, what I like about this pyramid is that it highlights some key information that we've been considering about peer assessment and how our students learn most effectively. This is captured by the 90% in teaching others at the bottom of the pyramid, which suggests that workshopping with rigorous collegial peer review is an effective tool in teaching others not only how to give useful feedback, but perhaps offer some direction in writing. There are 6 foundations for giving good peer feedback. Set expectations and clarify goals for the feedback for your students. Model the assessment and feedback. Emphasize the importance of writing feedback. Encourage unbiased feedback. Offer guidelines for structuring feedback. And give students time to think about their feedback before responding to it. In a scaffolded approach to peer review, assign exemplary non-student readings, invite students to write a 1 to 2 page reflection about their own work, ask students to write a 1 to 2 page reflection about their peers' work, provide feedback on the feedback that the students give one another, and encourage students to write about how they used their peer feedback when revising their own work. Here are some sample guidelines for peer feedback that I use in my fiction class. Identify what appears to be the story's overall point. If you aren't just sure what it is, then list the most likely possibilities. What does the main character yearn for? Can you identify each character's inner journey, particularly the protagonist? What hurdles, obstacles, challenges does the main character encounter? Identify all the parts of the story that seem strong. Identify any lines of truth. and list any and all questions that the manuscript raises for you as a reader. I wanted to share with you some examples of thoughtful marginalia of peer feedback and self-assessment from two of my MFA students, Peter and Jasmine. I'll leave each slide up for about a minute for you to carefully consider the thoughtful responses both students make on their peers' work and their own. Here are a few next-level tips to offer students and guide them when they're offering peer assessment. Ask students to write about how they use their peers' feedback in revising their own work. By creating a culture of revision, a key question for both students and the instructor is, how has the peer feedback been useful as they've developed their piece? Think aloud protocols. This is where you pair up students and have them take turns reading the other students' work out loud, commenting as they read. Students can say whatever comes into their mind as they read the work of a peer. This gives the author of the piece insight into the commenter's experience of reading the work. It's perhaps best used when the work has been significantly revised and is at the polishing stage. And invite students to present their revised work. They can discuss all the feedback they've received and articulate their vision and direction for their work in a revision presentation. Devote time to train students how to approach and critique writing. Provide clear guidelines to guide them in assessing peer work. Students who engage in a guided peer review process make more fertile suggestions to the work of their peers and more meaningful changes to their own drafts. The process helps them understand, interact with, and articulate points of craft on a much deeper level. It helps them recognize that their first submission is a draft that will likely require revision, a vital part of growing their writing practice. Thank you for your time today.